Blog reports, widespread reports continue to pour in from all over the nation of glitches with the food stamp system. It is 8 days into the month, and large numbers of people still have not received their benefits. And in other instances, it is being reported that EBT cards are simply not working correctly. Michael Snyder continues, on downdetector.com, there are scores of reports of problems with the EBT system from people all over the nation. Could this simply be another example of government incompetence, or is something else at work here? Many things are at work here. The cultural poison George Soros has unleashed on America via Black Lives Matter and MoveOn.org, along with the recently legalized propaganda spewed out by globalist-owned mainstream media taking the side of anti-constitutionalists, fueling violent riots. The Obama administration, the Department of Justice, and the United Nations maneuvering of the Strong Cities Network, a real-time martial law initiative that needs a concrete reason to expand federal control over local police. Not to mention, roughly 11 million illegal immigrants were encouraged by the USDA to take advantage of the United States federal welfare system as the national debt approaches a hallmark of 20 trillion. Obama has overseen the exponential formation of a class of unemployed welfare recipients who expect to be taken care of, or else. It was reported during the Ferguson rioting that 2 new Black Panther members were planning a bombing of the famous St. Louis Gateway Arch and the murder of the prosecuting attorney in the Michael Brown case, along with the Ferguson police chief. The plan fell apart after one of the accused bomber's girlfriend's EBT card ran out of money. This isn't all happening by accident or by powers beyond Obama's control. Mass food riots are par for the course as a last-ditch effort to install martial law and place the United States under New World Order domination. John Bound for INFOWARS.com.
We got 3 of our reporters there. All I can say is incredible job, crew. They are forcing the mainstream media to report on what's happening. Secret global government meetings, amazing. Paul, you're there at the train station. We saw a bunch of police raids, and we've seen women in hijabs walking around and kids running around appearing to be on something, I'm not sure, with another man that was drunk talking on camera saying they were from North Africa and Afghanistan. Other points, and then I'd like to, basically get a ground tour for TV viewers, and I'll narrate for radio listeners.
Yeah, one other point is that there were 2 arrests today. There were 2 protesters who just turned up, calmly sat down outside the barricades. They weren't screaming, they weren't shouting, they weren't saying anything. They were holding 2 cardboard signs which said something like, why the secrecy, we want transparency, something like that. Completely non-offensive. There were no cuss words in the signs. After about 30 minutes, the police came up to them, and eventually it was 3 rows thick of police, obviously to keep us dangerous reporters away from them. They had a long conversation about how there was no free speech in Germany while Bilderberg is in the town of Dresden. And they were forced to put the signs away, and that's where it stopped in that moment. But a few hours later, the police came back and arrested them for possessing a tent. They had this little green tent. I don't know what they were doing with it, but these people who were British, they were quite polite people. They were just having a conversation with the police. But no free speech in Germany while Bilderberg is in town. And it's ironic because they were accosted by the police. And literally about 5 minutes later, Vernon Jordan arrived. I think that's his name. And he's a civil rights activist. So you've got a top civil rights activist heading into Bilderberg, while within 5 minutes, people are being harassed simply for holding protest signs outside of Bilderberg and having their free speech crushed. So I thought that was kind of ironic.
Well, I mean, look, I don't say this to be sensational. In fact, I'm almost ashamed that I'm not more upset. Germany has fallen to tyranny. Germany is like Nazi Germany again, but it's leftist controlled. They're arresting people for rallying. They're telling people, shut up. It's horrible that Germany has police that have turned into anti-free speech thugs and who follow illegal orders. This is despicable. So that's all going on. But right now, let's go back to Dresden at the train station to see the results of the country flooded with the illegals there. And then give us a tour. I'll narrate for radio listeners, Rob, dude.
Yeah, well, Alex, right now, the guy that was jumping around earlier, he seems to have pissed off another person who's over here. The fight might ensue in 1 second.
Well, let's go over there.
All right.
There's a
But
drunk
anyway, this is
guy
the front of
hopping
the train
around. He said
station.
he was from Afghanistan. There's folks
Exactly.
from Algeria.
Now, Alex, I ran around and shot a bunch of B-roll before we went on live. And just walking around here, I saw the cops questioning several groups of immigrants, just asking for their papers and whatnot. When we walked up, there was a guy showing them their ID. And, you know, and then going through the train station. Some couldn't get on. One guy couldn't get on the train because he didn't have a ticket. But he was trying to get on the train. The guy said no. So he's sitting there talking to his friends. And, you know, right now it doesn't seem like it's super busy, but it seems to be, you know, packed with guys just hanging out, loafing around, as you would say. And, you know, it's interesting. I talked to a family, a couple. I put the interview up on INFOWARS.com. She was German, he was Jewish, and they seem kind of fine with the migrants coming in. They think everybody seems to think there's this endless pool of money to pay for benefits and housing and food.
Even though most of these radical Muslims being brought in on record want to kill every Jew they can get their hands on.
That's true. And we kind of got into that at the end. And I said something in the terms of, you know, maybe Germany has Holocaust. They feel bad for the Holocaust, so they're letting these people in to make up for it. And he didn't want to get into that, and that kind of pissed him off. And then
it's globalism. It's a project to end Europe. It's a project to create total division. They're bringing in people that just sit around and are a bunch of bums and, you know, adopt every form of crime you can imagine, because under Islam, it's okay to commit crimes against non-Muslims.
Exactly. And, you know, another interesting thing that happened today, we can keep walking. People were coming up to us, wanted to know what was going on. All the tourists were, you know, the tours were going through, and they would stop. They would hear us speaking English. What's going on? What's going on? So then I just started videotaping these people and saying, well, I'm going to have to videotape you if I'm going to tell you what this is. You're going to get educated. And so we just, you know, started telling them about the Bilderberg Group, because there wasn't much going on for a few hours. We're sitting there waiting. I guess the highlight was two highlights were Vernon Jordan and Henry Kissinger. I have yet to see Lindsey Graham show up.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
They just started arriving, you know, today, and it runs, the real Bilderberg's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. Well, really on Monday sometimes. Why?
Go ahead.
What triggered the police? Because I know this happened in Austria last year, too. Is it fair to say the worst police we've seen are in Germany and Austria? Because, I mean, we would report if somebody did something for the police to respond. But from what I heard from Paul, no one's doing anything. People are polite. They're like threatening to arrest or arresting British tourists. I mean, British tourists are stereotypically the nicest people on the planet.
Yeah, and those people were, and they saw what happened last night, so they knew what they were getting into when they did their little protest. But basically, it just said, their sign said, "What have you had to hide?" And the other sign said, "This will get confiscated." Prophetic, because it did get confiscated, and we've got that video coming out. We shot it in many parts because it was kind of a long situation.
So there's photos up in the story at drudgereport.com. The photos are there. Speaking of courage, Charlie Skelton has a lot of courage, because they target him, I've got to say, 6, 7, I don't know, time flies, years that he's been covering Bilderberg, because he's with probably the biggest newspaper arguably in the world. It's not even the New York Times. All over Europe, it's the big English, you know, language paper folks read. And he's able to actually cover it. The Guardian lets him cover real issues, because they know that's how you remain credible, in my view. And so the police and governmental people know that he's, you know, high-powered. And I'm kind of speaking for him. I haven't had private conversations with him on this, so I've been at Bilderberg 3 or 4 times with him. He's a great guy, he and his wife. But am I correct in saying they target you, Charlie? I know you didn't come on about this today. You came on to tell us about what you've witnessed the last few days, and as Bilderberg officially kicked off, it just seems like every year, and my crew was saying this, they seem to target you, detain you, arrest you, raid your hotel rooms, harass you, try to get your rental cars taken away. I mean, is that an accurate statement? And why are they coming after you if it is an accurate statement?
Well, first of all, hello, Alex. It's lovely to be here.
Good to have you.
You're looking well, looking very smart. Well, this year hasn't been as bad as last year, I have to say. Last year was pretty bad. The Austrian police were pretty tough. But this year, the German police, you know, there's not much dialogue going on. And yes, we were held up for, you know, 3/4 of an hour last night, you know, with the usual checks and this, that, and the other. And to be honest, there have been other people this year who've had it worse. So, which I have to say I'm glad about on a purely selfish basis. But really, what I think I have to say the story this year for me is the number of politicians that have come. It's a very, very political summit, and people don't realize that it's a lot of people. I don't know what they think it is, but when you look at the sheer number of politicians here, you have to treat it as a political summit. I mean, 3 members of the German cabinet are here, 2 prime ministers, and 4 finance ministers, including the Canadian finance minister. I mean, it's a high-level political summit, but one that's thrown by, Deutsche Bank and Airbus. It's a lobbying junket, a big, intense one that all of these people come to. That's as you say, it's a globalist operation. I mean, it very definitely is.
Break down, from your perspective, how Bilderberg is changing, because you talk about they're still powerful, but they're a little more paranoid.
Well, one of the I think with the Brexit, the whole Brexit debate is something that concerns them, because for various reasons. It would completely unplug the whole TTIP trade deal, but worse than that, it would fragment this this building block of the European Union, which is part of their. When I say they, I mean the kind globalists. Ideologues of that particular ilk, it would be a dangerous fracture of that kind of free trade and political bloc. And they talk about the serious consequences and the dangers. A lot of the people here in Dresden have spoken out. For example, Henri de Castries, the chairman of Bilderberg, he talks about the serious consequences of Brexit. A lot of them do.
This is Rob D. reporting for INFOWARS.com. We're on the site of the Bilderberg 2016 protest, and these young people over here with their cardboard signs, and they're being told to remove them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 police officers for 2 people with cardboard signs. 15 people to stop 2 cardboard signs.
And I don't think we're hurting anyone. And so
I asked. And you both with this transparency. It's not allowed. Here,
if I start wearing it like this.
No. There's an order.
Is it?
Today.
Do you have it in English?
12? Yes, German. Sorry. Yesterday, 12 o'clock till Sunday, 16 o'clock. It's forbidden. Sophienstraße? Here, Sophienstraße?
But why? Why? I mean, is the job of the police not to protect other members of the community? Because I believe that we're not only just not hurting anyone else, I think the role that we're doing and expressing ourselves is absolutely essential in our society. The right to freedom of speech is one of the most fundamental rights that we have, and it allows people to change the world for the better, and if we can't have a right to freedom of speech, what really do we have?
The government of Dresden decided. It's called Allgemeinverfügung. Allgemeinverfügung. Yeah.
Who gave the government of Dresden the right to take people's rights away?
It's not my decision.
But you're enforcing it.
That's right. Auf English?
Do you know what? It would look a lot better for you guys if you just let us stand here.
The problem is there is an order of the government of Dresden, and it's forbidden to build an assembly.
Okay.
You are an assembly.
No, we're not.
We think that you are.